Welcome to another episode of Security Minutes, and today we're talking about AI. Craig, Claudia, how are you?
Doing good, thank you.
This is a really interesting topic, and I'm just going to hit you hard with the first question, Claudia. How are cyber criminals using AI to accelerate attacks?
That is an incredibly loaded question.
It is, isn't it? Where to start?
I think I'll talk about what we've mainly seen over the last year because as we know, AI is changing every day. We're constantly having to learn new tools all the time, even as defenders. So just as much as we're trying to learn about AI, the threat actors are also doing that and even doing it better than us at some points.
They don't have guardrails, do they?
No guardrails to think about, exactly. So what we saw over the last year is that AI is actually increasing the amount of supply chain attacks across organizations. So it makes it really cheap and fast for them to conduct an attack, essentially. It's also enabling lower sophistication threat actors to actually write malware that they may not have the technical background to do so, but they're prompting an AI to do it for them. One of the most recent cases that we've seen that is how it's also used in phishing. So
I was going to ask you about that.
There are so many different avenues to go down this topic. So you've got using AI for spear phishing now. So as I mentioned in the previous episode, that adversaries are now using AI to conduct automated reconnaissance because there's so many things you can just find on the open source web that enables them to build a profile about a company or a person that they're trying to target. In the other aspect of phishing, we've also got AI to help generate phishing kits for them as well. So we've actually seen, and this is highlighted in our high-tech crimes report, a phishing as a service tool that is just basically like your ChatGPT. You write in, this is what I would like to write a phishing kit for this company. I want to target these type of users. And it essentially will just generate all the emails for you and also have automated sending so you don't have to touch it at all, and AI does it for you.
Have you seen a change in how long it takes, I guess, a threat actor to find an exploit and then use that exploit with AI?
Definitely. So that is another capability that they now have access to. Is AI is incredibly quick at trying to find vulnerabilities, especially on an organization's network. With the amount of reporting that we have now with vulnerabilities across vendors and other open sources, AI is able to find those holes quite quickly. Another thing is once a threat actor has successfully breached an organization, they actually can use AI to help them sift through the data that they've collected.
Because they pull down immense amounts, don't they? So they can use that data even faster than they could have in the past.
Correct, yeah. So especially if they're a smaller threat group, they don't have the time to sit there, and obviously they're on a time limit to try and make a bigger impact and try and get all the information out before the company even detects them in the first place, which is where AI comes in to help them sort through that data and potentially even move laterally even further into the network.
I think this is where we sort of see those transnational organised crime groups, scam centres that are set up. And we first saw about the INTERPOL back in sort of the late 2019.
They've been around for a long time.
So we saw some of these in Africa, but they were localised in Africa. There were African people working in there. Fast forward to where we're seeing now, we're seeing Interpol carrying out operations, arresting people. We're looking at Chinese nationals being arrested in Africa. Add the AI piece into that as well. You know, that's their day job. They're working 24/7 at this. When you look at a normal sized business and we start talking about AI, they might have one or two people that are just, let's just try a little bit on AI, etc. How's that going to work? This is the industrialization, and this is, like, if you like, the rocket fuel for cyber criminals, effectively.
I was just at the RSA conference. There was a lot of talk about agentic AI, and that's really empowering these groups to. You mentioned 24/7. Like, they're not only are they working 24/7, but they can have thousands of autonomous agents out there working at their disposal.
Yeah, and I think we go back to that word cyber. Back in the day, cyber is very complicated. There's a government official, I'd write a couple of papers and say, complicated, give us some money, we can help defeat this sort of cyber piece. AI is just totally different now, because it means so much. For me, it's really, really simple. It's how can we get large data sets or vulnerabilities, and how can we industrialize that cyber criminal piece, which is what they're doing effectively.
It's a big challenge, and I think the future AI-powered cybercrime is changing the game. And I'm interested just to get your view on what concerns you most. You know, we've got privacy concerns, we've got misuse, and we've got major implications for law enforcement.
Yeah, huge. I mean, one, obviously, as law enforcement, we have privacy in data, but we have to hold on to very, very closely, and how do we protect that? So there's, how do we use AI effectively? Do we use it for intelligence? Do we use it for evidence? I think on the intelligence side and bringing together some of our intelligent side is really, really important. That will help direct our investigations. On the evidential side, I don't think we're quite there at the moment, because how do you stand up in court and explain that black box effectively, which is what AI still is at the moment?
Yeah.
We hear about the guardrails and governance coming on.
Yes.
And I've seen a shift over the last 3 years in that space. So back in sort of 2022, 2023, there was a large major conference in the UK, and we talked about guardrails and governance, and we're going to do all this. Well, good luck with that. Well, we're seeing in the EU now, we have the EU AI Act, which is putting a lot of stringent things in place around EU countries. We see in China now, any AI development by a company has to go to the government, be recorded and approved, and then used. And China's really, really pushing the use of AI across all industry, across communities and everybody. But now look at the US, for example. You've got the federal part of the US saying, oh, innovate, let's push the boundaries. But then in the state level of the US, they're putting their own legislation in as well, so putting up some real heavy guardrails. Now that's going to impact everybody. The criminals don't have that.
Yeah.
So that's the real difference we're looking at.
Well, they don't. We talk a lot about guardrails. That was one of the key words that a lot of the people were talking about at RSA is, how do we put guardrails around it? Threat actors don't have to worry about that, do they?
Yeah, absolutely.
It kind of leads me to my final question is, so what can organizations do? How can they use intelligence, automation? What can they do today to protect themselves against these threats?
It's going to keep getting harder and harder, because the AI is just going to keep getting better and essentially make it really quick for threat actors to find ways into organizations. One thing about our team at Group IB, the intel analysts are always monitoring the current up-to-date tools that threat actors are using on the dark web and on underground forums. And so all of this research is documented within our platform, so companies are able to access that and know what tools to look out for and where to implement these guardrails, so it stops them from these attacks.
I think as organizations, businesses, you've got to have that policy. How are you going to use AI? How are you going to use it effectively? But also, how are you going to protect your organization? Because, what are your employees using? They're taking company data, for example, and, look at these reports, give me an analysis on it. Well, where's that data going? But then we're also looking at the criminals trying to poison those data sets as well. So they're trying to see how can they corrupt those data sets and use those in the future as well. And that even goes as far as to how law enforcement do their investigations. Criminals are looking about, okay, well, maybe we can get into that as well. Let's really sort of try and, screw things up effectively for law enforcement and others.
Yeah, and policies is so important. I think we're all working through what do our AI and acceptable AI policies look like, and it's, I think, something that will continue to evolve. Thank you very much to both of you. A really interesting topic. If you'd like to get more insights or more visibility about how the AI threats may impact your organization, please reach out to your Data 3 rep. Thank you very much.